Today we're going to be diving deep into the least impressive teams on FIFA 24. These underperforming squads are shockingly subpar. They come with a mix of lacklustre player stats, challenging starts and in-game challenges that make their journey to the top both long and very hard. Let's get started and kick off our exploration of the 5 weakest but still quite fun teams in the game. We're beginning in India with North East United. Every player in their team is a whopping 7 points below average compared to the rest of the Indian league. You go into season 1 with your star player being a 35-year-old Frenchman who'll basically instantly retire. Your best prospect in the starting squad has 64 potential, which is still actually below the average overall rating in this league, as well as you having the smallest budget. Side note, but interestingly, their owner is actually an Indian actor called John Abrahams. I'd never heard of him, but after asking ChatGPT, it suggests that he could be compared to Western actors like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson or Vin Diesel. I mean, imagine doing an RTG with one of those as your owners. Can you struggle to get this awful Indian team into Asian Champions League football, and maybe even be the first Indian team to reach a final in the Asian Champions League? Talk about starting to the bottom and rising to the top. If you prefer playing in a league with players you've actually heard of, then maybe you should venture into victory with the vibrant vibes of Volendam. A similar situation to North East United, this Dutch team needs the courage to allow a total rebuild. In a league where most of the players are in the 70s for overall and the best ones are actually in the 80s, you begin with a squad that averages just 64 overall. Lequincio Zifuk will be your biggest hope. His 6'4" frame towers above every other player in your squad, and his high 70s potential will also massively overshadow the rest of your team. The situation is actually quite dire, but you actually only have the second lowest budget in the nation this time. You'll be aiming to outspend, but also outperform Almere City if you want to keep your job for Season 2. Beyond that, who knows, maybe you'll set up yet another famous Dutch academy. Going into this video, you probably expected this team to be on the list, but Luton Town is a lamentably lacklustre side of Premier League losers. They're 4 overall points below the average, and that doesn't sound that difficult or actually that far below par, but if you take away every single young, under 18-year-old player from the rest of the league's teams, this will actually grow to 9 points on average. 9 points is a lot. That's more than an entire season of development, even if you have 94 rated players. It might be a good idea to hold off on playing with Luton though until they get their stadium scanned into the game, but to give you an idea on their situation, they're the only Premier League team for 12 years to not have a single gold card in Ultimate Team. This means every player in their squad is rated 74 or lower. While the Hatters are actually facing an uphill struggle, they're also one of the most popular saves on FC24 as you would expect. This team actually has players that you've heard of: Ross Barkley, Tahi Chong, Marvelous Makamba and Issa Kabore. They've all played for big Premier League sides in the past. All of them have either not hit their potential or are starting to get a little bit older though. Of course, being a Premier League team means you'll have a big budget, right? Well, how big is this budget going to be? 50 million? 100 million? 200 million? Well, no, for Luton, you'll need to save their season for just £16.5 million. This is lower than multiple championship teams, including Norwich and Leicester City, and it's actually less than 6 teams in the Belgian Pro Division, which of course is a much smaller and easier league to be playing in. With such an unfancy team, maybe you can be the one that plays to their strength and sees them safe for a second season. Your budget will triple for year 2 and probably triple again in year 3, so that's when the rebuilds can really start to happen. With just 2 teams left in our list of the worst that FC24 has to offer, why not let me know who you think is the most tough or grueling career mode possible on this game, and subscribe of course so you don't miss any of the content I'm making in this game for the next few months. Winning today's silver medal is the Scottish team Motherwell, who managed to merely muster a mediocre squad in FIFA, which is miles from their mid-table might in real life. They're only rated lower than average by about 4 overall, but because the overalls in the Scottish League are so much lower, this is actually quite high as a percentage. I've picked them for this video for 2 good reasons though. The first is Lennon Miller, the second is Luca Ross. These 2 homegrown prospects that could easily become the future of the national team are absolutely key to your save. I won't spoil their potentials, but if you're interested in finding out what they are, make sure you have a look right now. If those 2 future household names aren't enough, you could also bring back Max Johnson from Austria after he departed last summer. 20% of the Scottish League now has a stadium in the game, so it's probably the best time to actually do a save in the north of Britain for a couple of decades. Ending the dominance over the big spending Celtic and Rangers is the dream, but both of their budgets are about 10 times bigger than our little Motherwell. This save could be about 3 things: academy, academy, and academy. They might not be a totally awful team like the one from India we mentioned earlier, but they are a bad team in a pretty bad situation. Qualifying for Europe will solve most of your problems, but developing Ross and Miller will be key to getting Motherwell back into the limelight with your youth academy. Okay, so that's the rundown of the 4 most rubbish rejects on FIFA, and now it's time to figure out our winner. At first, I thought this was going to be Patronato in Argentina, but they're not actually available in career mode because they're just in the Libertadores or the Sudamericana. So instead, we're heading back to India, and Punjab are truly the worst team on the game. With a staggering 7 points below the average overall rating in their squad, Punjab is undeniably in a league of their own when it comes to being awful on FC24. However, once again, when we remove all the under-21s from all the other teams in the league and Punjab, this deficit balloons to a jaw-dropping 12 points on average, worse than every other team in this league. This is a monumental challenge that lies ahead because Punjab's predicament is so bad and their prospects are so bleak that I think it actually does make it quite a fun and quite an attractive save to test how good of a manager you actually are. Can you actually turn the tide for this struggling Indian outfit and make them a really good team for the first time ever? Well, forget the massive budgets that the big European clubs will have. Here it's all about making the most out of the tiny resources you do actually have. This is a test of how good of a manager you are, how good you are at finding hidden gems, how good you are at transforming a squad into something special, and you'll need to be world class at both of these things because you start out with a budget that's barely big enough to even hire a youth scout. Who knows, perhaps against all the odds, your Punjab can rise from the depths and shine in the Asian football scene. It'll be quite a big task, but it's precisely this kind of challenge that makes FIFA Career Mode truly fun. If you do the save and manage to win the Asian Champions League, please make sure to send this to me on the Discord that's linked in the description, because the first person that does that will 100% make it into one of my Reviewing Your Save series. Hopefully you enjoyed this rundown of the teams that are most desperate for your managership inside FC24. Like I said before, let me know your ideas in the comments and subscribe to help support this kind of content. Thank you all for watching, I'll see you soon. Cheers and goodbye.